My name is Stephanie Martinez, and I'm 28 years old. Tonight, I'm sitting alone at the most expensive restaurant in San Francisco, surrounded by 8 empty chairs I had reserved for my family's IPO celebration dinner. The Forbes notification just lit up my phone. Martinez's AI empire hits $92 million valuation. 3 years of absolute silence from my family, and suddenly my father texts, "Saw the article. We should talk." Dad. They missed every milestone, every struggle, every moment that built this empire. But apparently, my bank account finally earned their attention. Before we dive into this story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button if you've ever felt overlooked by the people who should support you most, and don't forget to subscribe because this journey gets intense. Trust me, you won't believe what my family did when they realized just how much they had underestimated me. Growing up in our middle-class Denver home, I learned early that success meant different things for different children in the Martinez family. My father, Robert, built his insurance brokerage from nothing, working 16-hour days and expecting the same drive from his daughters. My mother, Linda, sold real estate with a kind of aggressive charm that closed deals and opened wounds. But their ambitions were laser-focused on one child, my older sister Carmen, the golden child destined for medical school glory. I discovered my entrepreneurial spirit at 12 when I started making jewelry from beads I bought at craft stores. While other kids played video games, I sat at my desk designing intricate patterns and calculating profit margins. My first week of sales at school netted me $47. I ran home bursting with excitement, spreadsheet in hand, ready to share my achievement. Robert glanced at my earnings chart for exactly 3 seconds before returning to Carmen's honor roll certificate. "That's nice, sweetheart. Carmen, tell Stephanie about your science fair project." The dismissal stung, but I assumed success would eventually earn their attention. By freshman year of high school, I was tutoring struggling classmates in math and science for $15 per hour. My bedroom transformed into a study center where kids came after school for help with algebra and chemistry. Within 6 months, I was earning $300 weekly while maintaining a 4.0 GPA. I felt proud, independent, valuable. That pride shattered the day I discovered my parents had been quietly transferring money from my tutoring account to pay for Carmen's SAT preparation courses, private tutoring, and college application fees. "It's family money," Linda explained when I confronted her about the missing $900. "Carmen needs every advantage to get into pre-med programs. You'll understand when you're older." But I understood perfectly. My work had value only when it served Carmen's goals. My achievements were stepping stones for her success, never destinations in themselves. Robert nodded approvingly at Linda's explanation, adding that successful families invest in their strongest assets. Apparently, I was the ATM machine, not the asset. The pattern crystallized during our college application season. Carmen's applications to private universities cost over $800 in fees, every cent provided without question. When I asked for help with my business school application fees, Robert laughed. "Business school? Stephanie, you need to be realistic about your abilities. Community college will teach you practical skills." The sting of his condescension was worse than the financial rejection. They weren't just refusing to fund my dreams, they were actively diminishing them. I spent my senior year working 3 part-time jobs, morning shifts at a coffee shop, afternoon tutoring sessions, and weekend retail at the mall. Every dollar went toward application fees and my future education fund. While Carmen received care packages and emotional support for her stressful pre-med track, I navigated my academic challenges alone. The message was clear: their daughter, the future doctor, deserved investment, while their daughter, the dreamer, deserved doubt. Community college taught me resilience, resourcefulness, and the bitter taste of underestimation. While Carmen enjoyed her freshman year at expensive private university, complete with sorority life and spring break trips funded by our parents, I juggled 18 credit hours with 25 hours of weekly work. My grades never slipped below perfection, and my determination only strengthened. After 2 years of proving myself, I transferred to Colorado State University with a partial academic scholarship and a burning desire to show everyone what they had missed. Computer science and business became my dual major, a combination that raised eyebrows from professors who questioned whether I could handle both demanding programs simultaneously. I thrived on their skepticism, using doubt as fuel for late-night coding sessions and complex case study analyses. By sophomore year, I had identified a gap in campus dining that would change everything. Students wanted food delivery, but no efficient system existed to connect hungry classmates with campus restaurants. My food delivery service started with a simple smartphone app one coded during winter break. Using basic GPS tracking and payment processing, students could order from any campus dining location and receive delivery within 30 minutes. I recruited fellow students as delivery drivers, offering them flexible schedules and fair compensation. Within 3 weeks, we were processing 50 orders daily. By the end of the semester, daily orders reached 200, and my monthly profits hit $2,000. The success felt intoxicating, validating every late night spent debugging code and every rejection I had faced from my family. I called home bursting with excitement about my venture, eager to share detailed revenue projections and expansion plans. Robert's response chilled my enthusiasm instantly. "Stephanie, this sounds like a distraction from your real studies. You're in college to get a degree, not to play restaurant." Linda chimed in with concern about my grades suffering, despite my maintaining a 4.0 average in both majors. Their dismissal hurt, but their interference devastated me completely. 2 weeks after our conversation, I received a call from the university's academic affairs office requesting an immediate meeting. Apparently, a concerned parent had contacted them about a student who was neglecting academic responsibilities to run unauthorized commercial activities on campus. The administrator, clearly influenced by Robert's persuasive insurance salesman charm, presented me with an ultimatum: shut down my delivery service immediately or face academic probation for violating university policies. Fighting the decision would have required legal resources I couldn't afford and family support I clearly didn't possess. With a heavy heart and burning resentment, I shut down the service that had taught me more about business operations than any textbook ever could. My drivers found other jobs, my satisfied customers returned to inefficient dining options, and my entrepreneurial confidence cracked under the weight of family sabotage disguised as concern. The timing of Carmen's engagement couldn't have been worse. Just as I was recovering from losing my business, Linda announced that Carmen's medical school boyfriend had proposed during a romantic weekend getaway. The wedding planning began immediately, with elaborate discussions about venues, catering, and guest lists. During a family dinner where I was still processing my business shutdown, Linda dropped the financial bombshell. They expected me to contribute $5,000 from my savings toward Carmen's dream wedding. "It's what families do," Robert explained, as if my forced contribution was a privilege rather than a demand. "Carmen has supported you through college with her example of academic excellence. Now it's your turn to support her biggest day." The logic was so twisted it made my head spin. Carmen's academic achievements, funded entirely by our parents, somehow constituted support for my independently financed education. My actual support, in the form of cold hard cash earned through my own labor, was simply expected family duty. When I refused to empty my carefully saved emergency fund for Carmen's wedding extravaganza, Linda's manipulation shifted into high gear. Phone calls to aunts, uncles, and grandparents painted me as selfish and ungrateful, a daughter who had forgotten family loyalty in pursuit of individual success. Extended family members began reaching out with gentle suggestions that I reconsider my position, that family harmony was worth more than money in the bank. The culmination of this campaign came during a large family gathering for Robert's birthday. In front of 23 relatives, Robert stood up during dinner and delivered a speech about family values and mutual support. His words grew increasingly pointed as he described children who put personal ambition above family responsibility, who measured love in dollars rather than dedication. The entire room knew he was talking about me, and their disapproving glances felt like physical blows. When he concluded by calling me selfish and delusional, the silence that followed was deafening. I left that dinner with tears streaming down my face and my resolve crystallizing into steel. If they wanted to paint me as the family villain for protecting my own financial future, so be it. But I also gained something valuable that night: clarity about who my real allies were. My roommate Jenna had warned me about my family's manipulative patterns, and my computer science professor Dr. Williams had always encouraged my entrepreneurial instincts. As my family turned against me, these genuine supporters became lifelines to my sanity and self-worth. Graduating summa cum laude with dual degrees in computer science and business should have been the proudest moment of my academic life. I had overcome family sabotage, financial limitations, and countless people who doubted my ability to excel in demanding programs simultaneously. My thesis project on artificial intelligence applications in customer service earned recognition from both departments, and my GPA stood at 3.97. Everything about that day should have been perfect, except for the glaring absence in the auditorium, where my family's seats remained empty. Carmen's medical school interview weekend in Chicago coincided exactly with my graduation ceremony, and the choice for my parents was apparently effortless. Carmen's future depends on making a good impression during interview weekend, Linda explained over the phone. Your graduation is just a ceremony, but her interviews determine her entire career path. The casual dismissal of my achievement stung worse than outright hostility would have. They weren't even pretending my success mattered compared to Carmen's ongoing pursuits. Sitting in that auditorium surrounded by families celebrating their graduates, I felt the weight of years of rejection crystallize into something harder and more determined than mere resentment. Dr. Williams found me after the ceremony, noting my isolation among the celebrating crowd. Stephanie, your work this year has been exceptional. Have you considered applying for startup accelerator programs? There's tremendous opportunity in Silicon Valley for someone with your skills and drive. His recommendation came with contact information for several prestigious programs and a promise to write detailed endorsement letters. The Silicon Valley dream represented everything my family feared: uncertainty, ambition, and success measured by innovation rather than traditional credentials. When I announced my plans to move to San Francisco and apply for Techstars accelerator programs, Robert's reaction was swift and brutal. You're going to fail spectacularly and come crawling back within 6 months. This fantasy about becoming some tech entrepreneur is going to cost you everything you've worked for. Linda's approach was more insidious, spreading word among our extended family that I was abandoning my education and family responsibilities to chase impossible dreams in an expensive city. The rumors Linda propagated painted me as unstable, ungrateful, and destined for failure. Cousins began calling with concern about my mental state, asking whether I was having some kind of breakdown that led to such irrational decision-making. Aunts and uncles offered gentle advice about staying close to family during uncertain times, suggesting that my desire for independence was actually fear of genuine intimacy. The narrative they created was so convincing that I began questioning my own judgment during moments of weakness. Despite the psychological warfare being waged against my confidence, I liquidated my small savings account and packed everything I owned into 2 suitcases and a laptop bag. $800 represented my entire financial foundation for starting over in one of the most expensive cities in America. The tiny bedroom I rented in a shared apartment with 3 strangers cost $750 monthly, leaving me practically no margin for food, transportation, or unexpected expenses. My air mattress on the floor became both bed and office as I applied for accelerator programs and part-time work simultaneously. The rejection streak that followed nearly broke my spirit completely. 27 startup accelerator programs declined my applications over 3 months, each rejection email feeling like validation of my family's dire predictions. My computer science skills were solid, my business plans were comprehensive, and my determination was unquestionable, but somehow I couldn't convince anyone to take a chance on my potential. Sleep became elusive as self-doubt crept in during the quiet hours when my roommates were asleep and my phone showed no new opportunities. Emergency funds dwindled to double digits when the call finally came from Techstars. The program director had reviewed my application multiple times, impressed by my academic achievements and the innovative approach I proposed for AI-powered customer service solutions. "We believe you have the technical skills and business acumen to build something significant," she explained during our phone interview. "Your background shows remarkable resilience, and that's exactly what successful entrepreneurs need." Acceptance into Techstars felt like validation not just of my business potential, but of every choice that had led me away from my family's limited vision. The news of my acceptance should have been cause for celebration, an opportunity for my family to acknowledge that their doubts had been premature and their support might have been beneficial. Instead, my excited phone call home was met with complete silence from Robert, followed by a dial tone when he hung up without a word. Carmen later texted that my bragging about acceptance was inappropriate while she was stressed about medical school applications. Linda's response came through our neighbor, who mentioned casually that my mother was concerned about my tendency to exaggerate achievements to get attention. Even in my moment of triumph, my family found ways to diminish my success and paint themselves as victims of my unrealistic ambitions. But their rejection had lost its power to devastate me. Surrounded by brilliant, ambitious people who shared my vision for building something meaningful, I began to understand that family was something you could create as well as inherit. The Techstars community became my first experience of unconditional support from people who wanted me to succeed without competing for limited approval or resources. The Techstars program introduced me to Marcus Chin, a brilliant software engineer who shared my vision for revolutionizing customer service through artificial intelligence. While other teams focused on social media apps or e-commerce platforms, Marcus and I saw opportunity in the frustrating phone trees and chat systems that made customer support a universal source of aggravation. Our AI platform would understand natural language, resolve complex issues, and learn from every interaction to improve response quality continuously. 18-hour workdays became normal as we developed our minimum viable product in the cramped shared workspace that Techstars provided for program participants. Marcus brought exceptional technical skills in machine learning algorithms while I handled business development, user experience design, and financial planning. We survived on ramen noodles, coffee, and the intoxicating belief that our solution could transform how companies interacted with their customers. Sleep was optional, social lives were non-existent, but progress was measurable and exciting every single day. Our first angel investor meeting resulted in $50,000 in seed funding from a venture capital firm that specialized in early-stage AI companies. The check represented more money than I had ever seen personally, but more importantly, it represented validation from experienced investors who understood technology markets. Professional investors believed in our vision enough to risk their own money on our success. I called my family immediately, unable to contain my excitement about this major milestone in building a real company with real value. Robert's response to my investor news was swift and cutting. "Stephanie, nobody wants to hear you bragging about taking money from strangers. Call us when you have a real job with a real paycheck." The line went dead before I could explain that securing investment was an achievement that required convincing sophisticated investors of our market potential and technical capabilities. His dismissal of my funding success as somehow less legitimate than traditional employment revealed how little he understood about building innovative businesses in competitive markets. While I was grinding through technical challenges and customer development interviews, Carmen's residency match celebration was planned with the elaborate attention usually reserved for royal weddings. Robert and Linda spent over $15,000 on a party to celebrate Carmen's acceptance into a prestigious dermatology program, inviting extended family, friends, and colleagues to honor their daughter's achievement. The celebration took place in San Francisco, less than 20 miles from my shared apartment, but I learned about it through social media posts rather than an invitation. Seeing photographs of my entire extended family celebrating Carmen's success, while I was explicitly excluded, felt like a knife twisting in an old wound. These people had watched me grow up, had celebrated my childhood birthdays, had supposedly cared about my well-being, but they were now complicit in my systematic erasure from family events. Comments on the photos praised Carmen's dedication and our parents' support, creating a narrative of family unity that required my complete absence to maintain its coherence. The psychological impact of family rejection while building a startup created stress levels that threatened both my mental health and my company's progress. Marcus noticed my distraction during crucial investor meetings and gently suggested that personal issues were affecting my professional performance. I confided in him about my family situation, expecting skepticism or advice to reconcile with people who clearly disapproved of my choices. Instead, Marcus shared his own story of family pressure to pursue traditional careers and offered unwavering support for my entrepreneurial journey. Our second major investor meeting presented an opportunity for a series of funding that could value our company at $2 million and provide the resources needed to hire a full development team. The venture capital firm had conducted extensive due diligence on our technology, our market analysis, and our potential for scalable growth. Everything was proceeding smoothly until Linda decided to escalate her sabotage campaign in ways I never could have anticipated or prepared for. During the final stages of our Series A negotiation, Linda somehow obtained the contact information for our potential lead investor and called him directly with concerns about my mental health and judgment. She presented herself as a loving mother worried about her daughter's ability to handle the stress and responsibility of running a technology company. Her performance was convincing enough that the investor requested additional references and delayed our funding timeline while conducting further background checks on my personal stability. The revelation that my own mother was actively undermining my professional relationships left me stunned and furious beyond words. A legal consultation revealed that Linda's actions bordered on defamation, but pursuing litigation would be expensive, time-consuming, and potentially more damaging to my reputation than her original interference. One investor withdrew from our funding round entirely after Linda's call, claiming concerns about family stability and support systems for founding teams under pressure. I stood at a crossroads between defending myself against family sabotage and focusing on building the company that represented my life's work. Marcus advocated strongly for pursuing legal action, arguing that my family's interference had crossed ethical and legal boundaries that demanded consequences. Dr. Williams, whom I called for advice, suggested that success would be the best revenge, and that distracting myself with family drama would only validate their destructive behavior patterns. The near breaking point came during a particularly challenging week when customer acquisition was slower than projected, our technical platform required expensive infrastructure upgrades, and Linda's interference had created investor relations problems that required delicate handling. I seriously considered giving up the startup dream and returning home to accept whatever traditional path my family would approve. The weight of building something significant while fighting active sabotage from the people who should have supported me felt overwhelming and possibly unsustainable. Marcus found me crying in our office at 2 a.m, surrounded by financial projections and legal documents related to my family's interference. Instead of offering empty platitudes about everything working out, he asked a simple question that changed my perspective completely. Do you want to build this company because it's important, or because you want to prove something to people who will never support your success? The answer was obvious, and it reminded me that my motivation had to be internal rather than dependent on external validation from people who had repeatedly demonstrated their opposition to my dreams. Our company's momentum accelerated dramatically as we secured 12 major client contracts with Fortune 500 companies seeking to improve their customer service capabilities through artificial intelligence. The platform we had developed was solving real problems for real customers, generating measurable improvements in customer satisfaction scores and operational efficiency metrics. Our team expanded to 12 full-time employees, each person carefully selected for both technical expertise and cultural fit within our collaborative, innovation-focused environment. The series of funding round concluded successfully with $2 million raised at an $8 million pre-money valuation, despite the delays and complications caused by Linda's interference with our investors. Professional investors recognized the strength of our technology, the size of our addressable market, and the quality of our early customer traction. The funding provided 18 months of operational runway and validation that our startup had real potential to become a significant player in the customer service technology market. Local tech media began featuring our company as an example of successful AI implementation in traditional business processes. A prominent technology magazine included me in their annual Rising Stars Under 30 feature, highlighting my technical background and entrepreneurial achievements in building a company that was addressing genuine market needs. The profile article included professional photographs, detailed discussion of our technology platform, and projections for future growth that positioned us as leaders in an emerging industry segment. Robert's response to the magazine feature was characteristically hostile and dismissive. "Stephanie, this constant showing off is embarrassing to our family. People are starting to ask why you feel the need to draw so much attention to yourself." His criticism of media coverage that I hadn't sought or paid for revealed his complete inability to understand how business development and investor relations worked in technology markets. Success required visibility, credibility, and recognition from industry professionals who could provide opportunities for partnerships and growth. The threat that followed Robert's criticism was unambiguous and chilling. "If you keep bragging about this little computer project, you're going to find yourself completely cut off from this family. We're tired of your showing off and your disrespect for people who actually work for a living." Linda reinforced the ultimatum by suggesting that my startup success was somehow stealing attention from Carmen's medical residency achievements, as if professional accomplishments were a zero-sum competition between sisters. Carmen's fabricated emergency arrived precisely when my relationship with our parents had reached its lowest point. Late on a Tuesday evening, I received a frantic phone call from Linda claiming that Carmen was facing a serious medical crisis that required $25,000 in emergency funds. The story involved complications from a minor surgical procedure, insurance coverage denials, and urgent treatment needs that couldn't wait for administrative appeals or alternative payment arrangements. The guilt manipulation that accompanied Linda's crisis narrative was sophisticated and emotionally devastating. Carmen might be forced to leave her dermatology residency program if she couldn't afford the medical treatment needed to continue her demanding schedule. Our family's medical insurance had reached annual limits, and the specialized care required was only available through private physicians who demanded immediate payment. As Carmen's sister and the family member with readily available funds, I bore responsibility for preventing this catastrophe. Despite serious suspicions about the timing and details of Carmen's alleged emergency, I wired $25,000 from my company's emergency reserve fund to Linda's bank account. The decision caused significant tension with Marcus and our board members, who questioned whether personal family obligations should deplete business resources during our crucial early development phase. I justified the wire transfer as a short-term loan that would be repaid within 60 days, though I had no concrete assurance that repayment was realistic or even intended. 3 weeks later, Carmen's social media posts revealed the true purpose of my $25,000 emergency loan. Photographs from an elaborate European vacation showed Carmen and her medical school friends enjoying luxury accommodations, expensive restaurants, and guided tours through multiple countries. The emergency medical crisis had been entirely fictional, a manipulation designed to extract money from my success for Carmen's personal entertainment while portraying me as selfish if I refused to help family in need. The confrontation that followed my discovery of Carmen's vacation fraud was explosive and definitive. During a video call that included both parents and Carmen, I presented evidence of the vacation photos and demanded explanation for the deception about medical emergencies. Carmen's response was defensive and entitled, claiming that the stress of medical residency justified taking an expensive vacation funded by her successful sister. Linda and Robert supported Carmen's position, arguing that family money should be shared according to need rather than earned through individual effort. Robert's final ultimatum was delivered with cold finality, You're dead to us until you stop this nonsense and start acting like part of this family again. Your attitude has become toxic, and we won't tolerate it anymore. Linda immediately blocked my phone number and removed me from all family social media accounts, erasing any evidence of my existence from their digital narrative. Christmas card photos would show 3 family members instead of 4, as if I had never been born or had died tragically young. The explicit exclusion from family Christmas celebrations was communicated through my aunt, who called to express confusion about why I wouldn't be attending holiday gatherings that traditionally included extended family members. Learning that my parents had told relatives I was too busy with work to join family celebrations added a layer of public humiliation to private rejection. They were controlling the narrative about my absence while ensuring that I couldn't defend myself or maintain relationships with extended family members. The emotional devastation of systematic family rejection began affecting my work performance in ways that I couldn't hide from Marcus and our team members. Concentration became difficult during investor meetings, decision-making felt overwhelming when facing multiple strategic options, and my usual optimism was replaced by cynicism about human relationships and loyalty. The people who should have been my biggest supporters had become active saboteurs of my professional and personal well-being. Marcus stepped into the role of primary emotional support while also maintaining his technical responsibilities within our company. His patience, understanding, and consistent encouragement provided stability during the most challenging period of my entrepreneurial journey. Our relationship deepened beyond business partnership as we navigated the complex challenges of building a company, while I processed the reality that my biological family had chosen cruelty over support, competition over collaboration, and control over love. Our artificial intelligence platform achieved a breakthrough that revolutionized customer service operations for major corporations struggling with volume and complexity in their support systems. The successful pivot from basic chatbot functionality to sophisticated natural language processing allowed us to secure contracts with Fortune 500 companies whose customer service requirements represented millions of interactions annually. Revenue growth exceeded our most optimistic projections as enterprise clients recognized the measurable value our technology provided in terms of customer satisfaction improvements and operational cost reductions. Series B funding negotiations positioned our company at a $45 million valuation with $15 million in new investment capital from Tier 1 venture capital firms specializing in enterprise software companies. The funding round attracted attention from strategic investors, including major technology companies that viewed our platform as complementary to their existing customer relationship management systems. Our team expanded to 45 employees across 3 office locations, each person contributing specialized expertise in areas ranging from machine learning research to enterprise sales and customer success management. Industry recognition followed our rapid growth as I was invited to speak at major technology conferences about artificial intelligence applications in customer service, women in entrepreneurship, and building scalable technology companies. These speaking engagements provided visibility for our company while establishing my personal brand as a thought leader in emerging technology markets. The conferences also connected me with other entrepreneurs facing similar challenges in balancing rapid business growth with personal relationships and family expectations. Robert's escalation of his sabotage campaign represented a shocking new level of interference that threatened both my professional reputation and our company's relationships with major clients. Using his insurance industry connections and persuasive communication skills, he began contacting our enterprise customers directly with claims that I was mentally unstable and incapable of managing a technology company responsibly. His approach was subtle and professional, presenting himself as a concerned father worried about his daughter's well-being and the risk this posed to business partnerships. The impact of Robert's interference was immediate and potentially catastrophic. 2 major contracts worth over $800,000 in annual recurring revenue were nearly terminated when clients expressed concerns about leadership stability and family support systems. Our head of customer success spent weeks conducting damage control conversations, providing additional references, and reassuring clients about our company's operational stability and my personal fitness for executive leadership responsibilities. The time and resources required to address Robert's sabotage delayed new customer acquisition and strained relationships with existing clients. Our legal team immediately sent cease and desist letters to all family members, explicitly prohibiting any contact with our customers, investors, or business partners. The letters detailed potential legal consequences for continued interference with our business operations, including claims for damages resulting from defamation and tortious interference with contractual relationships. While the legal threats provided some protection, they couldn't undo the damage already caused or prevent more subtle forms of continued sabotage. Carmen's wedding planning became an elaborate social media campaign designed to showcase a perfect family narrative that required my complete erasure from family history. Professional photographs, venue tours, dress fittings, and celebration events were documented extensively across multiple platforms, creating a comprehensive record of family joy and unity that excluded any mention of a second daughter. Extended family members participated enthusiastically in this narrative, sharing and commenting on content that celebrated the bride while ignoring the systematic exclusion of her only sibling. The deliberate nature of my exclusion became apparent when extended family members began contacting me with questions about why I was tearing the family apart during Carmen's important celebration. Linda and Robert had successfully portrayed themselves as victims of my stubborn refusal to participate in family events, rather than as perpetrators of emotional abuse and professional sabotage. The narrative they created was so convincing that even relatives who had known me since childhood began questioning my character and motivations. Gaslighting intensified as family members rewrote history to support their victim narrative. Linda told relatives that they had always supported my business ventures, but were hurt by my refusal to include them in my success. Robert claimed that my rejection of family values was causing emotional distress that required them to protect themselves through boundaries and limited contact. Carmen positioned herself as an innocent victim caught between parents and a sister who had chosen career ambition over family loyalty. The psychological warfare became so sophisticated and damaging that I required professional therapy to maintain my mental health and leadership effectiveness. Dr. Sarah Henderson, a psychologist specializing in family trauma and entrepreneurial stress, helped me recognize the patterns of emotional abuse and manipulation that had shaped my family relationships since childhood. Her guidance was crucial in developing healthy coping mechanisms and protective boundaries that allowed me to focus on business growth rather than family drama. The therapy process revealed that my family's behavior represented a systematic campaign to undermine my success rather than isolated incidents of disapproval or concern. Dr. Henderson helped me understand that their escalating sabotage was actually a response to my growing independence and success, which threatened their ability to control my choices and maintain their narrative about my capabilities and worth. Recognition of these patterns was both liberating and heartbreaking, as it confirmed that reconciliation was impossible without fundamental changes in their behavior. Our company culture evolved to embrace the concept of chosen family as multiple team members shared their own experiences with difficult family relationships and the importance of building supportive professional communities. The open discussions about family trauma and professional success helped create an environment where vulnerability was valued and support was genuine. Many employees commented that our workplace provided more emotional safety and encouragement than their biological families had ever offered. Marcus emerged as my closest ally and confidant during this period of intense family conflict and rapid business growth. His unwavering support, practical wisdom, and emotional intelligence provided stability that allowed me to navigate the challenges of scaling a technology company while processing the reality of family rejection. Our relationship deepened into something that transcended business partnership as we built both a successful company and a foundation for personal happiness based on mutual respect and shared values. Series C funding negotiations represented the culmination of years of technological innovation, market development, and team building as we targeted $60 million in new investment at a pre-money valuation of $180 million. The funding round attracted interest from prestigious venture capital firms, strategic corporate investors, and family offices seeking exposure to high-growth artificial intelligence companies with proven revenue traction and clear paths to profitability. Our platform had become essential infrastructure for enterprise customer service operations, processing millions of customer interactions monthly with measurable improvements in satisfaction and efficiency. Carmen's wedding date was announced with the fanfare typically reserved for major cultural events, complete with elaborate social media campaigns, professional videography of the planning process, and detailed coverage in local society publications. The celebration was positioned as the social event of the season, bringing together medical professionals, family friends, and extended relatives for a weekend of festivities honoring the union of two successful physicians. Every aspect of the planning was documented extensively, creating a comprehensive record of family joy that required my systematic erasure to maintain narrative coherence. The deliberate nature of my exclusion became undeniable when I learned that wedding invitations had been sent to distant relatives, family friends I hadn't seen in years, and professional colleagues of my parents who barely knew Carmen. Meanwhile, no invitation was extended to Carmen's only sibling, who lived in the same metropolitan area and had shared every major milestone of her life until our family's recent rupture. The message was clear: strangers were more welcome at this family celebration than I was. Linda's manipulation reached new levels of sophistication when she arranged for a wedding invitation to be sent to my old college address, ensuring that it would be returned as undeliverable. This allowed her to tell relatives that they had attempted to include me, but I had apparently moved without providing updated contact information. The story positioned me as difficult to reach and potentially disinterested in family events, rather than actively excluded from celebrations that should have included me automatically. The public humiliation escalated when the local newspaper's wedding announcement described Carmen as our parents' only child, completely erasing my existence from the official record of our family structure. Seeing this description in print felt like reading my own obituary written by people who wanted me dead to them, but alive enough to suffer the knowledge of my erasure. Friends and colleagues who read the announcement contacted me with confusion about whether I had been adopted or had a different family than I had previously described. Social media documentation of wedding preparations intensified the psychological torture as relatives shared photographs, videos, and commentary about the approaching celebration while carefully avoiding any mention of my existence. Extended family members who had known me since childhood participated enthusiastically in this collective amnesia, praising Linda and Robert for their wonderful daughter without acknowledging that they had two daughters, one of whom was being systematically excluded from family recognition. The emotional breakdown that resulted from this concentrated family assault occurred during a crucial Series C investor presentation that could have secured our funding at optimal terms. Standing before sophisticated investors who represented the opportunity to build something significant and lasting, I found myself unable to focus on financial projections and growth strategies while processing the reality that my own family had legally and publicly declared me non-existent. The presentation faltered, questions went unanswered, and the deal terms were modified downward as investors questioned my emotional stability and leadership capabilities. Marcus and our core team rallied to save the funding round through intensive damage control efforts, supplementary presentations, and additional due diligence materials that demonstrated our company's strength independent of any single individual's personal circumstances. The modified terms were still favorable and provided adequate capital for continued growth, but the experience taught me harsh lessons about the intersection between personal trauma and professional performance. My family's cruelty had nearly derailed years of work by dozens of talented people who deserved better leadership during crucial moments. The expanded company mental health benefits that resulted from my struggle with family trauma provided support systems for other employees facing similar challenges with difficult family relationships, workplace stress, and entrepreneurial pressure. Creating an environment where mental health was prioritized and supported became a core value that distinguished our company culture and attracted top talent who appreciated the holistic approach to employee well-being. Sometimes the most valuable lessons come through painful personal experiences that translate into better leadership capabilities. Private investigation revealed that my family had consulted with attorneys about potential ways to claim ownership or control over my assets, apparently exploring whether my mental state could be challenged legally to justify conservatorship or other forms of financial intervention. Robert's insurance background had provided him with knowledge about legal mechanisms for protecting assets from unstable family members, and they were researching whether those same mechanisms could be used to gain access to my growing wealth. The legal battle preparation required significant emotional and financial resources as our attorneys developed comprehensive documentation of my competence, success, and stability to counter any potential challenges to my autonomy or decision-making capacity. Creating detailed records of my business achievements, mental health treatments, and professional relationships became necessary protection against family members who viewed my success as an asset they deserved to control rather than an achievement they should celebrate. Support systems crystallized around this period of maximum family hostility as Marcus Dr. Henderson and our core team members became the chosen family that provided encouragement, loyalty, and unconditional positive regard that biological relationships had failed to offer. The contrast between family sabotage and chosen family support was stark and instructive about the difference between relationships based on control versus relationships based on mutual respect and shared values. My transformation during this period was profound and permanent, representing a shift from seeking approval from people who would never provide it to building protective boundaries around my energy, time, and emotional resources. The realization that I couldn't change my family's behavior, but could control my response to their behavior was liberating and empowering. Instead of remaining victimized by their cruelty, I began using their rejection as motivation to build something so successful that their opinions became irrelevant to my happiness and self-worth. Initial public offering preparations represented the culmination of 5 years of technological innovation, market development, and team building as our artificial intelligence platform had become essential infrastructure for enterprise customer service operations worldwide. Investment banks valued our company at $92 million pre-public offering, with projections for rapid growth as artificial intelligence adoption accelerated across multiple industries. The IPO process required months of financial auditing, regulatory compliance, and investor education about our technology platform and market opportunity. The Forbes feature story exceeded my expectations for media coverage as the journalist had conducted extensive research into my background, our company's development, and the broader market trends that made our success both remarkable and representative of emerging opportunities in artificial intelligence. The Immigrant's Daughter, Who Built an AI Empire, presented my entrepreneurial journey as an inspiring example of determination, innovation, and resilience in the face of significant personal and professional challenges. The article detailed our technology platform's capabilities, our client roster of Fortune 500 companies, and our expansion plans for international markets, while maintaining appropriate discretion about family conflicts that had shaped my entrepreneurial journey. The journalist had sensed family tension during background conversations, but respected my request to focus on business achievements rather than personal drama. The coverage positioned me as a serious technology leader rather than a tabloid story about family dysfunction. Publication day arrived with cruel irony as I sat alone in the private dining room of San Francisco's most exclusive restaurant, surrounded by 8 empty chairs I had reserved hopefully for a family reunion celebration. The table setting represented years of fantasizing about eventual reconciliation, moments when my parents would acknowledge their mistakes and celebrate achievements they had spent years undermining. The empty chairs mocked my persistent hope that success might eventually bridge the gap between us. The Forbes notification lit up my phone at exactly 6:47 in the evening as I picked at an expensive meal I couldn't taste while processing the loneliness of celebrating major achievements without family support. Reading the article on my phone while sitting in isolation provided a surreal contrast between public recognition of my success and private acknowledgement of relationship failures that no amount of professional achievement could repair. Within 2 hours of the Forbes article publication, my phone buzzed with the first family contact in over 3 years. Robert's text message was characteristically brief and entitled, "Saw the article. We should talk. Dad." The casual tone suggested that years of silence and sabotage could be erased with a simple conversation, as if my success had retroactively justified their interest in maintaining family relationships they had systematically destroyed. Linda's phone calls began within minutes of Robert's text, filling my voicemail with increasingly desperate messages about family reconciliation, misunderstandings that could be resolved, and mutual forgiveness for past mistakes. Her revisionist narrative portrayed our years of conflict as simple communication problems rather than systematic emotional abuse and professional sabotage. The calls continued throughout the evening as she apparently expected immediate availability, despite years of blocked contact. Carmen's lengthy email arrived at midnight Pacific time, filled with congratulations for my success, explanations of family stress that had caused misunderstandings, and suggestions for rebuilding relationships that acknowledged our mutual love and shared history. The carefully crafted message avoided accepting responsibility for any specific harmful behaviors while positioning herself as eager for sisterly reconciliation now that my achievements had apparently earned family approval. Extended family members who had participated in my systematic exclusion suddenly emerged from years of silence with congratulations, investment requests, and explanations of how they had always supported my entrepreneurial dreams despite appearances to the contrary. Aunts who had shunned me during Carmen's wedding festivities now wanted to discuss business opportunities for their own children. Uncles who had questioned my mental stability now sought financial advice for their retirement planning. The flood of sudden family interest was both predictable and nauseating, confirming that my worth to these people was directly correlated with my bank account balance rather than any genuine affection or respect for my character. Their timing was impossibly transparent, arriving precisely when my success became publicly documented rather than at any point during the years when support might have made a difference in my life. Robert's follow-up messages became increasingly desperate and entitled as hours passed without response from me. His texts progressed from casual interest to wounded surprise to barely concealed anger that I wasn't immediately available for conversations he demanded. The entitlement in his communications revealed that years of rejection hadn't taught him anything about relationship repair or genuine accountability for harmful behavior patterns. The family's narrative began shifting immediately to position themselves as supportive relatives who had been misunderstood rather than abusive parents who had systematically undermined their daughter's success. Linda told extended family members that they were giving me space to grow and develop independence, as if years of active sabotage had been sophisticated parenting strategies designed to strengthen my character through adversity. Linda's story about our estrangement evolved to claim that they had always believed in my potential, but wanted me to succeed independently without family assistance, as if their interference and rejection had been forms of tough love rather than cruel rejection and professional sabotage. The revisionist history was so comprehensive and convincing that some relatives began questioning their own memories of family dynamics and conflicts they had witnessed personally. Our legal team advised documenting all contact attempts from family members as potential evidence for restraining orders if harassment escalated beyond simple communication requests. The sudden flood of attention after years of deliberate silence created legitimate concerns about boundary violations and potential demands for financial support or recognition they hadn't earned through years of actual relationship investment. The contrast between family absence during years of struggle and their sudden attention after public success was so stark that it provided clarity about their values and motivations that removed any remaining doubt about the wisdom of maintaining protective boundaries. Success had not changed their fundamental character flaws, it had simply made my assets valuable enough to overcome their disapproval of my life choices. IPO launch day exceeded every projection as our company opened trading at $125 million valuation, representing remarkable growth from our original Techstars Accelerator Program application to becoming a publicly traded technology company with international operations. My personal stake in the company was worth $45 million at opening prices, transforming me from a struggling entrepreneur sleeping on an air mattress to a wealthy business leader with significant financial resources and industry influence. The chosen family celebration that surrounded our IPO launch represented everything that biological family gatherings should have been, but never were in my experience. Marcus stood beside me as both business partner and life companion. Dr. Henderson attended as the surrogate mother figure who had guided me through the darkest periods of family trauma, and our core team members brought their spouses and children to celebrate achievements we had built together through mutual support and shared sacrifice. The contrast between this gathering and the empty restaurant table from Forbes publication day was profound and instructive about the difference between relationships based on genuine care versus relationships based on financial opportunity. People who had supported me during years of struggle deserved to celebrate success we had created together, while people who had actively sabotaged my efforts deserved no access to achievements they had tried to prevent. Robert's final manipulation attempt demonstrated the persistence of narcissistic behavior patterns as he arrived unannounced at our IPO celebration, somehow obtaining event location information through extended family networks that remained sympathetic to his revisionist narrative about our relationship. His expectation that he could simply appear and demand recognition as a proud father revealed complete disconnection from the reality of what his behavior had cost us both. Security personnel escorted Robert from the building while he shouted about family loyalty, blood obligations, and ungrateful children who had forgotten their roots and responsibilities to people who had sacrificed for their success. His public outburst provided final confirmation to our celebration guests about the wisdom of maintaining strict boundaries with family members who viewed relationships as opportunities for exploitation rather than sources of mutual support and genuine love. Carmen's desperate email that arrived during our celebration revealed the financial motivations behind the family's sudden interest in reconciliation. Multiple failed investments had depleted their savings, Robert's insurance business was struggling with industry consolidation, and Linda's real estate income had declined significantly during recent market downturns. My success represented a potential solution to financial problems they had created through poor planning and unrealistic expectations. The email detailed various family financial crises while carefully avoiding any acknowledgement of harmful behaviors or accepting responsibility for years of emotional abuse and professional sabotage. Carmen's request for financial assistance was couched in language about family obligations and shared responsibility for supporting relatives during difficult times, as if my wealth belonged partially to people who had spent years undermining my efforts to create it. Linda's voicemail admitted that the family had made mistakes in their relationship with me, but demanded that I help solve their current financial crisis as proof of my commitment to family healing and forgiveness. Her logic suggested that my willingness to provide money would demonstrate character growth and family loyalty, while my refusal to fund their lifestyle would confirm their narrative about my selfishness and abandonment of family values. Dr. Henderson's guidance during this period was crucial for distinguishing between genuine remorse and manipulative behavior designed to access my financial resources without accepting accountability for past harm. True reconciliation required acknowledgement of specific harmful behaviors, acceptance of responsibility for consequences, and concrete changes in behavior patterns that had caused damage. None of the family contact attempts met these minimum standards for relationship repair. My response to their reconciliation demands was delivered through our legal team in the form of written conditions that would need to be met before any family contact could be considered. The requirements included family therapy with an independent professional, public acknowledgement of their past treatment and its impact, respect for my boundaries and autonomy, and cessation of any attempt to control my decisions or access my resources without earning such access through genuine relationship investment. The family's reaction to my conditions was swift and predictable, revealing that their reconciliation interest was entirely conditional on my willingness to provide financial support without requiring behavioral changes from them. Robert's immediate rejection of therapy requirements and accountability measures confirmed that his interest was in my money rather than genuine relationship repair with his daughter. The legal response to Robert's threats about suing me for abandoning family obligations was decisive and permanent. Our attorney secured a restraining order that prohibited any family member from contacting me, my employees, my business partners, or my clients for any purpose. The harassment that had characterized their approach to my success would no longer be tolerated or managed through personal boundary-setting attempts. 1 year after our IPO, Forbes published a follow-up article about our company's continued growth, international expansion, and technological innovations that had maintained our competitive position in the rapidly evolving artificial intelligence market. The article mentioned my establishment of educational scholarships for first-generation college students, but maintained appropriate discretion about family conflicts that had shaped my philanthropic priorities. The scholarship fund I created honored the importance of supporting young people whose families might not understand or support their educational and career aspirations. Named the Martinez Family Future Leaders Scholarship, the program provided both financial assistance and mentorship for students pursuing degrees in technology, business, and entrepreneurship. The fund represented a positive use of resources that transformed my family experience into something beneficial for others facing similar challenges. My reflection on the healing journey revealed that success isn't measured by who shows up when you're winning, but by who supports you during the building process when outcomes are uncertain and sacrifice is required. The people who celebrated my achievements had earned that privilege through years of encouragement, practical assistance, and emotional support during times when my dreams seemed impossible to achieve. The chosen family that surrounded me had grown to include Marcus as my life partner, Dr. Henderson as a maternal figure who provided wisdom and guidance, and team members who had become genuine friends whose children called me auntie and whose families included me in their celebrations. These relationships were based on mutual respect, shared values, and genuine care rather than biological connections or financial obligations. Our company culture emphasized psychological safety and authentic relationships as core values that attracted employees who appreciated working in an environment where vulnerability was supported and success was celebrated collectively. Many team members commented that our workplace provided more emotional security and encouragement than their biological families had offered, creating a professional community that functioned as extended chosen family. The second company IPO celebration 2 years later filled the same venue with people who had earned their place through loyalty, love, and genuine support during both challenging and successful periods. The contrast with the empty chairs from my original Forbes celebration demonstrated the possibility of building meaningful relationships based on mutual respect rather than accepting toxic relationships based on biological connection. My closing message for others experiencing family rejection focuses on the importance of recognizing that your worth isn't determined by blood relations, but by the love you cultivate and receive from people who choose to support your authentic self. Breaking generational cycles of emotional abuse and control requires courage to build new relationship patterns based on healthier values and mutual respect. The wisdom I gained through this journey emphasizes that success creates clarity about people's true motivations and character, revealing who celebrated your potential versus who is attracted to your achievements. The people who support your dreams before they become profitable reality are the ones who deserve access to your success when it arrives. Family isn't defined by shared genetics, but by shared values, mutual respect, and genuine care that persists through both struggles and celebrations. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. I hope my story resonates with anyone who has felt undervalued by people who should have supported them most. Have you ever experienced family members who doubted your dreams until success made them valuable? Share your thoughts in the comments below about overcoming family rejection and building chosen family relationships. If this story inspired you to pursue your goals despite opposition from people close to you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about resilience, entrepreneurship, and building authentic relationships. Don't forget to share this video with anyone who might need encouragement to keep pursuing their dreams even when family support isn't available. Remember, your worth isn't measured by who shows up when you're winning, but by who believes in you while you're still building. Until next time, keep building something meaningful and surround yourself with people who celebrate your authentic success.